If you've heard or played other games from Mojiken and Tauge Productions, then it's probably not surprising to hear that A Space for the Unbound is a title that'll stir your emotions. I actually thought that it would be a typical love story about two high school students, but it ended up being a unique experience that left me eager to play through the whole game. So A Space for the Unbound tells the story of Atma and his girlfriend Raya, two high school students who live in rural Indonesia during the 90s. Since they're getting closer to graduation, they decide to make a bucket list of things they want to do. That's just a tiny part of the story though. Things get very strange while they skip classes and hang around town. Like the game seems like it's going to be a slice-of-life romance thing, but the story gets so much more complicated with supernatural powers and reality-bending end-of-the-world stuff. It's not completely surprising though, since the beginning of the game hints that not everything is as it seems. The game slowly builds upon the more surreal events throughout the first hour, and I thought it worked really well. It left me wondering what exactly was happening behind the seemingly peaceful setting of the story. Oh, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible because the supernatural, dreamlike mysteries of the game are what make the entire experience. Now, the game itself plays like a point-and-click side-scroller, so you go around Atma's hometown and talk to people while interacting with things in the environment. Helping people out usually means going on fetch quests, sneaking past areas, or solving a few puzzles. Sometimes it even leads to situations where you have to beat up bullies. It's nothing complicated though, you just need to press a bunch of buttons. I still think it's interesting how the game managed to add so many different mechanics and make them work throughout the story. But the highlight of the gameplay is definitely Atma's space dive sections. Whenever he can't help someone through normal circumstances, he uses his red book to go into their minds and solve their problems. The puzzles in these sections can be a little trickier than the ones in the real world. Some of the early ones include making an officer fall asleep by getting rid of distractions in his mind, and getting rid of a kid's chocolate cravings by messing with his favorite foods on a scale. Trust me, all of these puzzles make more sense in the game. They just sound really weird out of context. But yeah, they all aid in the story's progression, so it pays off. I do have some complaints about the space diving though, including the story's pacing. Some of the puzzles and scenes in the middle of the game dragged on too long, to the point where I started to feel bored. And some of the emotional conclusions for the space dives were a little too short for me to really feel anything. It only felt impactful for maybe less than a minute before the story moved on to the next thing. But still, the final hours of the game made it absolutely worth it. Now, outside of the main objectives, the game has quite a few side quests. You can answer random trivia, collect bottle caps, and attempt to get a high score in an arcade game. Oh, and you can pet every cat that you come across. Yeah, this game has a lot of them, so if you love petting virtual cats like I do, as well as dogs and ducks, then this game is for you. I didn't do every side quest in the game though, but I still explored as much as I could. What's cool about A Space for the Unbound is that it's not a linear story-driven game. Depending on what chapter you're in, you can explore Atma's town, including his school and the neighborhood. Even when nothing much was happening, I thought it was super relaxing to go through town, and it's all because of the wonderful pixel art and music. Like, this game just looks and sounds great, and the 90s rural setting really gave it a nostalgic yet familiar vibe. I say familiar because I live in the Philippines, which is also a Southeast Asian country. Like, it was cool learning about Indonesian music and food from this game, but I was surprised at how some environments and cultural aspects felt familiar, like the general store, street vendors, and the internet cafe. It was fun talking to the different NPCs too, since they helped make the town feel alive. I can't say too much about the more important characters though, but I did end up liking both Atma and Raya a lot by the time I finished the game. As for the side characters, they were alright. They're not bad, it's just they didn't have enough screen time for me to really be invested in them. Some of them get a brief spotlight, but it felt like the rest served as vehicles to tell Atma and Raya's story. Overall, it took me about 10 hours to play through A Space for the Unbound. I don't really have many complaints about the game, other than what I've mentioned about the middle parts of the game being dragged out. I guess the other thing I could complain about would be how much this game made me cry. No, seriously, I finished it at night, and when I woke up the next morning, my eyes were all puffy. What I loved about this game was, despite all the surreal stuff that happens, it goes through some very real issues. The game deals with heavy themes like bullying, abuse, depression, and anxiety, even if it's things that don't exactly relate to your own life. I think that the game is still a powerful experience. Beneath the dreamy sequences and lighthearted moments lies a story about choosing to live on and becoming stronger, despite having past trauma. I highly recommend the game if you're looking for something that'll move you. If you want to check it out, the game's out on every platform. Let me know what you thought about the video. And once again, thank you to my patrons at Patreon for supporting my channel. Man, Mojiken and Tauge Productions have been on a roll. If you haven't already and you're interested in A Space for the Unbound, I highly recommend checking out When the Past Was Around and Coffee Talk. They're both great games that I've previously covered on my channel. If you want some short, sweet stories with a slice of Indonesian culture, then I'm sure you'll like them. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.